So as fate would have it, 1 hour into my sleep, I was woken up and there was something like a choke. And this choke would not go away. I tried coughing it out, but it couldn't go away. I tried lifting up myself out of the bed and I couldn't. I fell on the ground immediately. So on falling, the pain now moved from my center and was spreading rapidly towards my left side of the body.
Yes. I've seen so many young people get strokes and heart attacks, which is myocardial infarction, in their 30s. And that's actually a trigger for the family to make sure they screen themselves early, because premature coronary artery disease, as we call it, if it happens early, it tends to happen in families. So yes, it's a disease that tends to happen in people above 40, but it can happen to people below 40 and even in their 20s.
Hello and welcome to Behind the Diagnosis. This is a space where we listen, we learn, and we shine a light on real stories. From rare and autoimmune conditions to life-changing medical moments. This season, we go beyond the diagnosis to the people, the impact, and the journey that follows. My name is Esther Ashira, and I'll be your host. If you have ever ignored a symptom because life was busy, if you have ever believed it can't happen to me, or if someone you love has faced a medical emergency, then this is for you. Today, we are talking about a medical condition known as myocardial infarction, commonly referred to as a heart attack. And to help us begin with medical clarity and accuracy, I'll first hand it over to our medical specialist.
So myocardial infarction, just to simplify it, is a compromise of blood supply to the muscle of the heart when an obstruction occurs in the arteries that supply the heart itself. So, the heart, as much as it's a powerful pump that starts to beat from the time it's formed in the mother's womb in the first trimester, it beats the entire life, but it needs to feed itself. So when there's compromise or blockage of supply to its own muscle, then we have a myocardial infarction. And what happens downstream is that the heart muscles, the heart cells themselves die, and that's what happens.
And with that understanding, I would now like to introduce our guest to us. Karibu sana, Mr. Nicholas.
Thank you so much.
Good to have you here.
I'm happy to.
Wow. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, viewers. My name is Nicholas Kisara. I'm coming from Mombasa. I live and work in Mombasa. But I was born in the southern part of the country. I come from Nyanza, specifically Migori, more specifically in an area called Soni. It's a sugar belt area, so naturally we are farmers. So that's where I grew up. I went to school through Soni Primary, so I know the locality so well. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So how was it growing up?
Well, growing up was very interesting. I was born in an era where we had to go through the nursery school, then the primary school. We didn't have the ECDs, so it would just be nursery school, then primary school, and then you go to at secondary, then at tertiary level. So as I said before, I went through Soni Primary School, and growing up was very interesting. Part of my life, I grew up in the care of my grandparents. And this is basically because my parents were a bit young and they were involved in school life and the rest. My mom was actually, I had to go back to medical college. So that's how my grandma came in. So I stayed with my grandma through my primary life to the secondary life. Yes.
Wow. What kind of child were you before, or person were you before MI?
Well, just a living natural life, a normal life like any other person. In fact, in an environment that nobody ever even thought of an MI history. And just before the diagnosis, nobody could trace anything like that to our family tree. In my entire life, not a single day did I complain of a chest pain or any symptom that could show that maybe one day I would have an MI condition. But that is life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just tell us, take us back to that day, and just tell us what you can remember on that particular day that changed your life completely.
If I'm to give a brief history just before that, that maybe probably would have contributed to the factor.
Okay.
After my primary and secondary school, when I came to Nairobi for my tertiary level education, and then after that, I went to Mombasa and joined the banking industry. And as a young person, I was living like any other young person. I got a job at a pretty early age. By my 22nd birthday, I was already working in the banking industry. So I think I got exposed to a life that probably I never expected. And yes, there was money flowing in. And when money flows in at that age, definitely you have to change your lifestyle, eating unhealthily, and a lot of evening church, quote unquote. And so one advice I got from my mom, she's a bit strict. She is still strict until today. And at my 25th birthday, she told me, we had a pep talk, and he told me, you know what? At this age and the money that you're handling, you need to find somebody to partner with so that at least your life takes a shape. So I met this young girl at my 25th birthday, and we were able to strike a deal, and we started a family. So I started a bit early. As fate would have it, I got a transfer. I had to come to work in Nairobi and leave my family in Mombasa. So I used to, like every Friday evening, drive back to Mombasa, come back on a Sunday. It used to be a routine. But life continued. So part of it probably took toll of me, because it's not easy every weekend doing that road trip. And around 5 years later, I found my way back to Mombasa again. I changed the institution, got another opportunity in another bank in Mombasa. So I went to Mombasa. So on the fateful day, I was just turning 32. It happened in September, the final day of August, turning September. And I'd just finished my chores like any other person, and retired to bed at around midnight thereabout. We say you can only do much for yourself, the rest you leave to God. So as fate would have it, 1 hour into my sleep, I was woken up, and there was something like a choke. And this choke could not go away. I tried coughing it out, but it couldn't go away. At that particular moment, I stretched my hand, and my wife was just next to me. So I asked her, Mom, would you please get me a glass of water? And then she was like, when somebody's waking you up in the middle of the night, for those of us who are married, if you're woken up at that time, you probably think there's another business that's supposed to happen. But on mine, it was a bit difficult. I just needed water. And then she's like, why this time? You can just fetch water. And I told her, please get me a glass of water. I changed my voice. And then she went to the kitchen, murmuring and all that. So on her way to the kitchen, I changed. Something told me that you don't need water, you need milk. So I told her, please don't get me water, get me a glass of milk. Then she was like, we only have one packet left, and it's for the kids. So I can't get you that. So I told her, I'm the one who buys milk in this house, so I'm coming to get it. And I think that is how my life turned around. God works in very miraculous ways. I tried lifting up myself out of the bed, and I couldn't. I fell on the ground immediately. So on falling, the pain now moved from my center and was spreading rapidly towards my left side of the body. And the breathing became a challenge. So I called her out, And she came running and found me a bit heavy. By that time, I was weighing around 95, 100 kgs thereabout. So she couldn't lift me up. And she was like, "Hey, what is happening?" Then I told her, I think I'm having a condition. We need to see a doctor. Then in that state of confusion, she didn't know what to do. And it was kind of a surprise to both of us. So I stretched myself and asked her to get me a phone. I called my immediate neighbor. Unfortunately, he was not able to pick. Again, who picks your call at that time in the night? 3, not everybody has that liberty to pick your call. So I called the second neighbor. Oh, I say this is how God works in a miraculous way. He is the one who is usually fond of not having his phone around that particular time. That day I gave the first call and he was able to pick. And the next thing I told her, "Mike, please, I need to go to hospital." Then he asked me where. The next minute, he was in my compound, managed to pick me up. And then he asked me, which hospital do we go to? Generally, I come from a family of medics, so a bit of knowledge. And I always prefer going to the nearest when you are going to get assistance. But that particular day, I insisted that we go to a facility that at least was stable. So we made a decision to go to Aga Khan in Mombasa. It's about 50 to 30 kilometers from where we stay. So, but that particular time, Mombasa was going through a lot of regeneration, a lot of road networks being redone, recarpeting, so a lot of traffics on the way. Miraculously, we didn't encounter any traffic. I managed to reach hospital in time. There I got diagnosed right. So the miracle happened. First of all, I got somebody to take me to the hospital. The next one, on reaching hospital, I got the right diagnosis. On looking at me, they told me, you need to go through a procedure called ECG. And that is to detect where the problem is. Because at that moment, I wasn't breathing in an easy way. It was a luxury to bleed. So after the ECG, then they broke the news to me. And told me, "Nicholas, you're having a myocardial infarction." So it's not a good term. So I thought like maybe this guy is just cracking a joke or something. Then he told me, "Nicholas, in simple, I'm telling you, you're having a heart attack, but you don't have to panic." And in fact, I remember him using these words that if Obama was in Mombasa today and had the facility, had the same situation you're having, you would be brought to this facility and the procedure we are going to perform is what we would perform to him. So you don't have to be worried.
Noted.
Okay. Naturally, if somebody tells you about heart attack, what comes into your mind first? Fatality.
Fatality, yeah.
These people are just telling me good words, but all I know at the end of it all. So at that particular time, I saw my life going as a flash. It was just turning around. And I kept on talking to myself and talking to my creator. I'm a born-again Christian, and I believe so much in my prayers. I don't know if you've tried praying and you feel like God is not listening to the language you're using. So I started doing my rosaries in English. And I said, no, I don't think God is ready to listen to this English. So I switched to Swahili. And then I said, no, I don't think Swahili is good enough. Let me switch to my vernacular. So I remember, as I told you, I was brought up by my grandma, so I know how to recite my rosaries in my mother tongue. So I went back reciting it. And I was talking to God face to face. And we were arguing. Like, you see, I have 2 kids. By then I had only 2 kids. I have 2 kids and they're still very young. And they need their dad. And if this is your will, then just make sure my kids are safe. Yeah. And then tears started rolling down. And the guy who took me to hospital, a good friend of mine, engineer, he was just right next to me. And I could also see him crying. I nearly lost hope at that particular time. So in the moment, they made a decision to have a procedure done and had to be wheeled into a room called the cath lab. Cath lab is a special room that the operations takes place, and that's where the procedure happens. And a team of doctors came. There's a cardiologist, there's how do you call this? Not an easy term to pronounce, anesthesia. Anesthetist, okay, that one also came. And the team, there were around 6 people. And there they had to do the preps. And finally, they told me, Nicholas, it's now you and us, plus your creator. And just be strong. We have to do everything possible to make sure that your procedure goes well. And somebody came, sat next to me and started asking me questions. My child life, the number of kids, how I live my life and everything. Then I think I lost my memory at that particular time. And then now they went through their procedure. And I woke up after they had already finalized. And I was, but when I woke up, they told me that they want to do something called stenting. They'll have to, a stent is a special valve that is put, it's placed inside your arteries to open it up so that blood can flow easily. And said it's okay, and a bypass. And yes, that was the procedure. So the miracle happened again. The doctors were able to diagnose me in time, because I had prior been informed that I had left less than 30 minutes to have everything corrected, or else I would be joining my creator.
It would have been a different story.
Yes.
And all this time, where is your wife?
Wow, as usual, very confused, very crying, and I just could not, we had a baby. My daughter was only 2 years, so pretty young. And when I left the house, she didn't know what to say. She thought maybe it was just as a normal thing, maybe acidity, gastritic or something. So when she was told it's a heart attack, first of all, she got completely confused. She couldn't even drive herself to work. She couldn't come to the hospital. It took an intervention of the neighbors to bring her. And then they told her that, no, this is the situation your husband is facing, but now you have to be strong for the kids. Yeah. So yeah, as any other person, she got very confused.
Yeah.
But she's a very strong woman.
Wow.
Very strong. And I thank God. I always thank God for that lady.
Wow.
She's just not beautiful, but beautiful at heart as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Good for you. Now, I just want to know, while you are going to hospital, you had the pain.
Yes.
You had the pain in your chest. And this time you haven't been told that it's a heart attack or anything. What was going through your mind?
At first, I also thought it's something to do with acidity, as I said. So, but now breathing became a challenge, and I could look for air at the lowest level. I couldn't stand. So I was, even in the car, I was crawling. I was down, lying on my belly, just to try find oxygen there. Yeah. So at one moment, I knew I'm not going to make it, because even the words that were coming from me were not very pleasing.
Yeah.
I started telling my friend that, you know what, I have only 2 kids, and if things don't go this direction, please, there's this. It's like I was handing over. Yeah, trying to tell them if everything, because how I was feeling, you see, like a story building on your chest. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was out. The story building lying on your chest.
On your chest.
And I couldn't even turn completely. And I'd gone pale, and my feet were swollen. I had started losing like my lumps, all my movement parts of the body couldn't respond so well. So I knew something was amiss.
And this is within how long?
That thing is a rapid fire. The moment you experience it is usually almost at the final stage.
Oh, okay.
Myocardial infarction is a silent killer, funny enough. So it was a miracle that I woke up with that shock. It's the one that they say you go sleeping and you don't wake up.
Oh,
yes.
I get.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So now they've done the procedure.
Yes.
You've now woken up. Did the pain go? Did it go immediately? Was it a process?
I was on a lot of pills and blood thinners. And I remember just after the diagnostic, I forgot this part. The doctors came and everybody was injecting everywhere in my body. You know, when they're just injecting, not knowing where it's here, your stomach. And then I came to learn that these are blood thinners. Oh. They were trying to make sure that the blood is as thin as possible so that it could flow. Yeah, because that was the major cause. Yeah. You know, if the oxygenated blood cannot reach your body, then definitely nothing happens to you. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why there was a reaction of swelling and everything. Yeah. So it was a total shutdown of the body. So after the procedure and they managed to put the stents, the blood started flowing again. The challenge is not actually the procedure. Okay. Challenge of any heart condition is post-recovery. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So how was it for you?
It's okay. My post-recovery was not a walk in the park. You can imagine a 32-year-old man being taught how to do baby steps. You cannot do anything for yourself. Even going to the toilet was not something that you just do in a normal way. It was terrible. It was terrible. But I thank God because He gave me the strength to go through it and live as an example, so that I pray nobody else, not even your worst enemy, would go through that procedure. 2 days after the procedure, I was in the recovery room, HDU. And then one of the doctors told me, Nicholas, do you feel you are ready to go home? Can I say, because, you know, hospital is not a good place to be. It's not a good place, unless you're a doctor. So I said, I just want to go home. They told me, if you will make 3 steps, then we will allow you to go home. So they assisted me. I stood up. I was confident I would do it. I did the first step, the second, and I was on the ground. And they told me, Nicholas, you are not ready. So we are going to embark on a therapy, because I'd lost my speech. I'd lost my senses of hearing, and memory was also kind of. So they told me we are going to embark on a serious therapy to make sure that we restore you back to the way you are. So they introduced me to a very young man who told me, Nicholas, with the kind of attitude you're having, we are going to work together, and I'm sure you are going to get better. So my journey through therapy began, and it was on a daily basis, 2 or 3 times in a day, 2 or 3 sessions in a day. We'd try the stress test. There's a treadmill that I couldn't run on it, so I would sit and then just cycle. Sitting, I started with my lower limbs, just trying to make sure that they're active. So they would monitor a minute, maybe 2 minutes. They say, okay, that's okay today, leave it at that. So it went gradually. And then now we came to my upper body also gradually until the coordination was okay. Then finally they told me, now you can now stand. Again, gradually. The bitter part of it is that, you know, that procedure is not pocket friendly. It is not something that every Tom, Dick and Harry would go through. I thank God because I had prepared myself. I had some little savings here and there, and my wife was also working. So I could manage. I could say, at least, let's do this, let's do that. But I'm trying to imagine of that person living deep in the village who probably couldn't have afforded that. Come on, 20. Yeah. that is what motivates me, and that's why I always speak about it, just to create awareness so that in case something like that happens, then you know even how to start.
Yeah.
So this procedure went for some time, and we checked our account balances and they got depleted, and we had to make a decision. Me and my wife, and we said, we continue being here, we will have to do away with every asset that we've ever accumulated. Alternatively, we negotiate with the doctors. I be bringing you every morning, because now the therapy sessions were just three times in a day. But you know, when you sleep there, the bill accumulates. It's almost 10 to 15,000 every single day. And I'd stayed in hospital for the better part. So we made a decision, and every morning she would drop me there, come pick me in the evening. It reached a point that I used to be, I don't know where you grew up, but where we grew up, we used to take maize outside, dry maize on the field. And then when you see rain coming, you go very fast. You remove anything. Yeah. So I was like that. You'd take me out to go bask in the sun. By any chance you forget about me, I'll be rained on there. At one moment, I started experiencing serious stigmas in my life, because my phone went dead, stopped ringing. I became sick to an extent that everybody now could describe me as that sick guy. If you are coming to my place and you're looking for direction and you're asking about a border guy, they will tell you, Niku mgani? Yule mgonjwa. So, you know.
Your name changed.
Now it changed from Nicholas to that patient. Yeah. But I never gave up. And that's why I usually say I have a very strong lady next to me. She stood by me despite all this, and she never gave up, not a single day. It wasn't an easy thing. And I always say that if you can detect it early, please detect it early. Yeah. Get it diagnosed early. Yeah. And get treated early, because it's doable. Yeah. You don't have to wait until it reached the stage that mine had reached. Yeah. Yes.
So while you're saying that, were there any symptoms prior to this?
None that I could tell. None.
So that means it's something that you can't even...
Yes, it's not something that you can say, but when your lifestyle changes, then so you can tell. Okay. Especially to the generation that we are having today. You know, our fathers used to eat a lot, but also exercise a lot and walk a lot. Yeah. Today, people hardly walk. A distance of 5 kilometers, they'll take an Uber. Yeah. 2 kilometers, border. People, even within their homestead, they even have bikes to ride within their homestead. Yeah. Nobody walks, nobody exercising. Look at our eating habits. Look at the kind of drinks we are taking. A lot of carbonated drinks in the market. And all these become toxic in our body. They change our lifestyles. And it becomes a clog. And I think these are major contributing factors.
Yeah, so it's more on lifestyle.
Definitely.
I know we'll have a session with the doctor, and she may give us even more insight on what to look out for. But I would like to know how long the recovery took.
My recovery took 18 months.
18 months.
Yeah, in total.
Wow.
Because I was in and out of hospital.
Yeah.
There was this one time that I felt I'm good enough. I think after 15 months, I thought, I'm okay. Because, I had depleted all my finances, and now we were surviving on my wife's salary alone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I have to do something. I'm not somebody who is used to sitting in the house. Now that's when I started writing. Yeah. I could do articles, do proposals for groups, just try to make something out of it. So there was this particular time. Oh, and also because now I had lost my job completely. Out of the medical condition. Now, my first job was I became my wife's driver. Yeah. So I told her I'll be dropping you to work in the morning. Yeah. and also picking me in the evening.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I said, okay, now I have a job.
Yeah.
At least just to
Wow.
keep me motivated. So there's this one morning that I had just dropped her. And then I had some errands. I wanted to buy some, I think it was a book or something in town. I don't know if you are conversant with Mombasa. There's a place called Kibarani. It's where the highland, from the mainland to the highland, there's a bridge there. Very notorious and dangerous bridge. So I was driving towards town.
Yeah.
And then I just blacked out while on the highway.
What?
Yeah.
What happened?
So the next moment I woke up in an ICU, and now my doctor became a bit strict with me. And he told me, Nicholas, if it's grounding you, I'll have to ground you. Because what has happened has made me now try to re-understand everything. Because you are doing so well, you are responding so well, but now we have to see what caused this, because I just fainted.
Yeah.
And then again, I had to be readmitted. And when they were just about to redo the procedure, and they managed to find a clue, and then I was treated and discharged after 4 or 5 days.
What was the problem?
It's still the same thing. It's only that it had recurred, but it was a mild.
Okay.
It did not damage anything.
Okay.
Yeah, so naturally, if I go through any medical procedure, any doctor was never seen me today and they perform an ECG on me, they always shy away. It's the doctors will tell you it shows like there's nothing in the left ventricle. It's like black. That's because there was a lot of damages in the first instance. So that with the bypass that I'm surviving with, because the ECG is supposed to examine the entire heart, it shows you one side. So unless I tell you the history, and then so after that I went on serious medication, a lot of therapy again, and eventually I managed to get up. So I'm still on heavy medication. Every morning I take my pills. Every evening I take my pills.
Up to now?
Yes, every single day. And I go for periodic checks every 3 months. I started going weekly, bi-weekly, then monthly, then now I'm doing quarterly.
Okay. So right now your heart is stable?
I'm a very positive person.
Yeah.
And I say if I am able to move around the country, do my duties as normal, then I'm very stable. I don't usually see myself as a sick person.
Awesome.
I tell people that I'm lucky because that thing came to me, but I managed to overcome it.
Amen.
I don't say that I'm sick.
Amen.
In fact, that has never crossed my mind.
Amen.
I tell people you are sick because you are seeing the sickness in me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And that answers my question. There's a question I wanted to ask you, like how the whole experience changed your life. Yes.
One, it grew me closer to my maker and showed me that this world and this life doesn't belong to us. There's one person who only controls it. Yeah. If he decides to switch it off, it is just a microsecond and you're gone. Yeah. And he spared me that particular thing. Yeah. The other thing, it strengthened my belief in family. I don't know how not even a witch doctor can get me away from my family. I don't think so. Yeah. It brought the bond even much closer. Yeah. Because at one moment, I lost every single friend except one who was with me.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And she managed to sit next to me. I sometimes look at that lady. At one moment, when I was so sick and I was not recovering, and she was so young, I told her that, you're still a young girl. Mimi ni mgonjwa and I don't see myself recovering. Why don't you find life? Mimi niache na fate. In fact, I'd even called my mom that I would rather come back home. If this is the end, let it. Then she looked at me and she told me, you're not only sick, but now you're mad. Where do you want me to go? Yeah, I'll be here. Yeah, I'll be here. And she managed to be she's been part and parcel of the journey.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. God bless her soul. God bless her soul. So I know you have a book.
Yes.
But before you mentioned something about this book, I would like you to tell someone who's probably watching and they are telling themselves, like, this can never happen to me. Because even you, before this day, it had never even crossed your mind that it can ever happen to you. What would be that one word?
This world doesn't belong to us. Don't never say never, especially with the life conditions that people are having. You can never say it can never happen to you. Before my situation, I was a very healthy person, a very sports person, and nothing of this sort would have even crossed my mind. So always live knowing that anything is possible in this world. Just, I'm not saying that you be so much on the watch out, like the stigma kind of, but always watch your steps in everything that you do. Don't overdo it.
Yeah. And then encourage someone. Just encourage someone who will probably at a place where you are, maybe the first month of being diagnosed, or even with another condition. You know, here we talk about conditions like rare autoimmune conditions, and someone has just been diagnosed. Because I know there is something that kept you moving. So what is that one thing that you can encourage someone?
Always cling to hope. And depending on your faith, believe in yourself. I'm a Christian, so I believe there's a creator who is the giver of life. And only he has power over death. Yeah. So if it is his wish that you will live, you will live. But I also tell people as well that, faith must be accompanied with action. Do not just pray and think that disease will go away.
Yeah.
As you are praying, take good care of yourself, take your medications right. If you're told to exercise right. If you're told to change your diet, and then combine it with faith. Yeah. Because it is the same God who inspires the doctor to treat you or to diagnose you. Yeah. So do not say, mimi niliambiwa niende to gym, ama mimi niende nimwagiwe mafuta. Yes, mafuta will come. But remember, even when Jesus was healing, he had some instructions. He would tell you, yes, do this, and then you shall be healed. He was never just doing it outrightly. The first miracle he did, that wine into water, he asked them to first of all fill the jars with water. He did not tell them go buy wine and put there. He told them, so there was an instruction. Yeah. So these instructions are usually inspired by God.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amen. Anyone you know who has survived the same?
Yeah, quite a number. We have a team in Mombasa. We are working together.
Wow.
And part of my recovery, we were talking about this, and I learned that the more I talk about this, the more I overcome it, and the more I encourage people. Yeah. I didn't mention that at one moment, I lost my weight, and I was weighing close to 40 kgs. From 100 to 40.
What?
Yes. So I was... I was so thin and I was so weak that you could even imagine. Look at me now. Yeah. If I don't tell you my story, you will not know. You will not know.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how God works.
Wow. We thank God for you. We thank God for the miracle, and we thank God that we are here with you. And I am sure there's someone who has been encouraged. There's someone who's hearing this and they're like, I have to keep fighting.
You have to keep fighting.
Yeah.
Never give up.
Never give up. Heart of resilience and transformation. What's in this book?
The book talks about, it's a general family book. And that is, if you look at the title, it's a heart with a stethoscope. So the stethoscope shows you that it's ailing. Yeah? There's a doctor that needs to attend to it.
Yeah.
So, but that heart is also very resilient. It's not giving up. At one moment, then, and I felt like giving up, something kept on giving me hope, telling me that, no, you will make it. So during my recovery period, I thought of what to do because I was so idle and I couldn't do anything physically to generate income. And I got inspired to talk about my condition, to speak it to the world, and also motivate others and make others also feel like you can always do it, even if the odds are against you. So I started penning the book, and I gave out a story how my life began, the things that I could trace, where I think maybe I faulted, and how I landed into that kind of lifestyle. Like I told you before, as a young person, I used to do my parties well, and probably a lot of nyama choma in the evening and what. So maybe some of these things constituted to what. Then, and then I've also talked about the family. I'm one person who is very passionate on family matters and the challenges that sometimes we go through.
Yeah.
And the most painful part of that book that make me shed tears was there's this particular day that Mama had gone to work, and the people that we stay with, our house managers, had also planned that particular day. That was her last final day, and we had not known. So immediately Mama left, she also
Left.
So we were left in the house, me and my daughter, the 2-year-old. Yeah. And I was in very much pain that day. It was just an odd day. So my daughter noticed that this guy is not feeling well. You know what she did? She went and picked a packet of pills, the ones that I usually take, and then brought to me. And then she told me, Dad, meza dawa utapona. 2-year-old. Every time I look at that girl, I always see, she's named after my mom, so I look at her, I see a totally different person. Totally different. We went through all this, and this bonded me with her. I'm close with my kids, but we are very close because of this particular.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to imagine, had she not brought me those medicine, what could have happened? And one thing I'm even telling the parents outside there, train your children right, especially communication, because she's the one who rang her mom when I was in pain. After giving me the pills, she took my phone and rang her mom. She just dialed her mom's number.
Wow.
And she was crying, and then her mom had to respond. Yeah. So even these kids, as long as they start talking, let's train them well, especially on these responses.
Yeah.
Like, you never know.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Beautiful book. Where can people find this book?
My book currently, in Nairobi, you go to Nuria bookstores. Yeah, they are there. Nuria has branches in Nairobi, Kisumu, Mombasa as well. And the book is doing so well. We've received a lot of responses. I think we are doing the 800 copy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's doing so well. And we decided to do it at a subsidized rate because I never intended to profiteer out of it. Okay. It was never meant to make me money or make me rich. I just wanted to speak to somebody and make somebody understand that sometimes life can push you to the very last end.
Yeah.
Because I have experienced both sides. I was in the corporate world doing so well at a tender age and seen it all, lived all, good house, good job, good car. Then one night, all this flipped.
Yeah.
It just flipped. Yeah. And I saw the darkest side of life. It reached a moment that even your daily needs could not be affordable. Yeah. So I have seen it all in life.
Wow. So, guys, you've had let's buy the book. We'll also give details of where you can find it. and a contact number that you can be able to reach out if you are not able to find, if it's not close to you, so that you can be able to read and just hear Nicola's heart that is all in this powerful book. Asante sana for coming.
Thank you so much.
I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and keep preaching, keep creating awareness, and let's make the world a better place with this information.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
God bless you too.
Wow, that was powerful, and we are blessed to have Nicholas just share with us his journey, and we really thank God for him and for his life as well. To help us understand myocardial infarction further from a medical perspective, we will now listen and hear from our specialist.
Thank you, Esther, and thank you for having me. So my name is Dr. Yubrine Gashemba. I am a consultant cardiologist based at the Prime Care Heart Clinic in Nairobi Hospital. And to have this very important and timely conversation with you. So myocardial infarction, just to simplify it, is a compromise of blood supply to the muscle of the heart when an obstruction occurs in the arteries that supply the heart itself. So, the heart, as much as it's a powerful pump that starts to beat from the time it's formed in the mother's womb in the first trimester, it beats the entire life, but it needs to feed itself. So when there's compromise or blockage of supply to its own muscle, then we have a myocardial infarction. And what happens downstream is that the heart muscles, the heart cells themselves die, and that's what happens. Wow, good question, because many people have these things, they're walking around with them and they don't know. So the one thing you'll notice is, we know that ideally for most people, the heart is on the left side of the chest. Sometimes in special different anatomy or different creation, it will be on the right, but that's a special type of congenital difference. But on the left side, someone will feel crushing chest pain. It's like you got an elephant stepping on your left side. So something heavy. Sometimes it can be crushing like that, or it can be squeezing. So you feel like something very tight is holding on the left side of your chest. But it normally starts. It's not just random. So you'll first notice sometimes that you walk and you feel pain. You walk up and the distance keeps on reducing and reducing and reducing. And this can start up to 1 year before you actually have the myocardial infarction. The other thing is, some people, especially women, their symptoms are different. They're not like men. So women would tend to complain of heartburn all the time, or they complain that when they walk, they feel like they can't breathe well. We call that exertional shortness of breath, which is sort of angina, as you would call it. It's an angina equivalent. So the symptoms can be vast, but that tightness that you feel, or shortness of breath, or heartburn, you might feel it radiating, we say, which is it transmits to the left shoulder, the upper jaw, you can feel it to the back sometimes. So it's very different. But I think what people need to watch out for is that when you are doing something and you feel something on your left side of your chest or any area around your chest, and you walk and you feel that, that's a red sign. And it can be the epigastrium, which is like what people say acidity, or it can be something on the shoulder. So if you walk and you feel like you have to stop and those symptoms go away when you stop, that's a red sign, because the next time when this happens, it will be you've collapsed. Other people will feel palpitations, which means the heart is racing very fast. They feel dizzy, feel like you're going to pass out. Some people pass out, or some people actually start noticing the heart is already having compromised supply, so the legs start swelling up. When they lie flat, they can't breathe so well. So because, as I said, it's an evolution. It's not something that just happens once. I'll tell you that myocardial infarction does not choose age. We know, yes, it's most common in people above their 40s, but I'll tell you in my long experience in medicine, I have seen so many young people get myocardial infarction. And there's a variant of myocardial infarction, which is sort of very genetically sort of predisposed for something called premature coronary artery disease, where people get narrowness. Let me just make it simple so people understand what this narrowness means. So you have a pipeline that supplies water to, let's say, your farm. And we know that the pipes can get rust. So ideally, deposition of cholesterol on the pipes is what we really see, and the vessels start become very narrow. So this narrowness for some people, we call that process atherosclerosis. It starts from the time we're children. But other people, it's very fast. We call that accelerated. And there's a genetic link to that it happens earlier, which is in the 30s, in the 20s. I've seen so many young people get strokes and heart attacks, which is myocardial infarction, in their 30s. And that's actually a trigger for the family to make sure they screen themselves early, because premature coronary artery disease, as we call it, if it happens early, it tends to happen in families. So yes, it's a disease that tends to happen in people above 40, but it can happen to people below 40 and even in their 20s. You have high cholesterol, which is really what gets deposited in the arteries, and then you have the narrowness of the arteries. And as the cholesterol gets deposited, if the blood pressure is high, it can dislodge the rust, as we would say, which is the cholesterol plaque, and then it goes further downstream, which the arteries are much smaller, and then it blocks it. So we know blood pressure, cholesterol, family history. Sometimes I like to classify this into modifiable and non-modifiable risk factors. So we know that the non-modifiable ones are the ones I can't change. Like, let's say age tends to be common in older people, but we say it can be in younger people. Sex, before menopause, men are at a higher risk than women, but after menopause, women catch up and even surpass men. We know other things like genetic risk. We just mentioned about premature coronary artery disease, which is a family cluster thing that can happen in families where they get myocardial infarction earlier. And we have other things like the genetics we talked about. But we have the modifiable ones. And this is where we have a lot of work to do, and why you're doing this show, so that people know. So those are the things like blood pressure I mentioned, cholesterol, diabetes. They do the same things. As I said, we focus back to what happens in those pipelines, because if they get narrow, then something will go wrong. Either in the heart, we call that myocardial infarction, or in the brain, it's a heart attack of the brain, that is stroke. So it's the same thing that can happen in that sense. So diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol, and we said other things like being too heavy. And being too heavy is associated with other things like high cholesterol, diabetes, impaired glucose tolerance, obstructive sleep apnea, bad heart rhythms, and all those things. And also other things like kidney disease, because if you have kidney disease, you're likely to have had all those other things. And sedentary lifestyle. We don't want to move a lot, then we get so big, and all those things. And being active is very, very important. So other diseases, and we know that these risk factors are also quite sex specific. We would say that this is what we used to say in a blanket way, but we know now for women, the risks are even more interesting, because you say if you had blood pressure in pregnancy, if you have autoimmune disease, if you're on hormonal contraception, all those things increase all those risks, and risk should actually be classified in a very sex specific way. Good, we call that time is muscle. There's a name for it. So when you get chest pain, and it could be a heart attack that is ongoing, you need to be in hospital or in a center, not just in any hospital, in a center that can open the blocked pipe, which is the blocked coronary artery, within 90 minutes. Because if we don't open that up within 90 minutes, which is 1.5 hours, then, the muscle downstream that has been deprived of blood supply and nutrients will die. And so the aspect of time is muscle is something we like to, really try and educate people to say, if you have chest pain, go to the hospital immediately, get an ECG done. An ECG can actually give a diagnosis of an ongoing heart attack and get the help that you need. If you're far away from, there are not many centers in our country that are able to open up the arteries. If you're not, then if you go early, they can transfer you to the center that your arteries can be open. And that point for time is muscle, I cannot overemphasize it. So recovery, obviously when you go you go and have treatment, the right treatment, which is open the artery if it is, and heart attacks are classified into many things. Maybe just for the audience's sake is that I don't want to get into the very nitty-gritty jargon and stuff, but heart attack is classified into 2, actually. Maybe 3, and the depending on what it was, whether we opened the artery or we opted for medical treatment, then it will involve that afterwards, if you've had your arteries opened up in the cath lab, then moving forward, you'll have medication that you have to take for a year. Then the treatment changes after 1 year. And then we have to make sure your cholesterol is managed to target. Things like blood diabetes. Diabetes is sorted out. Your other issues like weight and all those things are fixed, because we have to treat the risk factors and make sure they're well controlled. And then after that, it's important that we also do something called cardiac rehabilitation, which involves making sure that you actually are able to resume your activities of daily living in a very tailored and supervised way to make sure we get the best out of it. And important is prevention, because the first time you have one, there's a higher risk that you can have another. So we have to make sure we are treating things to target to prevent, and we call that secondary prevention, to make sure it doesn't happen again. One is if you have blood pressure, it has to be well controlled, so things like salt. But I would say in an African setup where the awareness, which I think you're trying to really make sure people know, is well spread and well understood across the board, is that when this happens, the part for you preventing involves both the treatment you get, which is pharmacological prevention, but also the lifestyle aspect. You have to become less sedentary. Blood pressure should be well controlled. Diabetes should be well controlled with a qualified medical practitioner. But also things as a patient you can do is watch your diet so that it's healthy, cardiovascular, cardiometabolic diet, which means how your plate looks has to change dramatically. Our diets are very high in starch. That has to change. If we like a lot of viazi tumbukia, those things have to change. And you have to be active. But another thing that we don't say a lot is the oil that is used. Like if we're going to use polysaturated fats, which is important, we move away from the monosaturated. Ile na ganda, the one that gandas, that's not good. So you use olive oil or Elianto, just forgetting the branding and stuff. But what I mean is polysaturated oils. And then beyond that, you have to get active. You have to, through cardiac rehabilitation, get to what you can do and how much active you can get. And beyond that, the other important aspect is if you are heavy, you have to lose the weight. You have to take care of the things that your own, lifestyle has contributed. Excessive consumption of alcohol, smoking cessation, that has to stop. And also, but there are other people who use recreational drugs, that has to stop, because also they are known to trigger heart attacks. All right. The major misconception is that it only happens to the old. And you see, we had a patient who was 32. Nicholas, the patient, the colleague who's also featured is 32. Recently, I had a patient who is 32. I've had many less than 40-year-olds who've had heart attacks. And the fact that it can happen in young people should just mean that, as I said earlier, is narrowness of the blood vessel, as we call it, atherosclerosis, starts very early in life. And we are all different. I joke with my patients and I tell them, we don't choose our genes just because we don't choose our parents. And sometimes what we inherit can change the trajectory of our lives, but it doesn't mean that all hope is lost. And we can get the right treatment, and just knowing that cardiovascular disease prevention should start early and not later. Be patient. You might see that someone is a bit slow because they're scared. And the fear and anxiety is something that we know, because the moment you hear that you've had a heart attack, you worry that, does it mean that I would have disappeared from the face of the earth? So support to an understanding, and actually walking with them through the journey of recovery, and encouraging them that life will become normal once they heal properly, and support them through the secondary prevention. Yeah.
Your parting shot.
All right. Oh, that's interesting. Parting shot. I think I've been saying too many serious things, and I need to just tone it down, and just say that know your numbers, know your cholesterol, know your blood sugar, know your weights, know your risks. And when we know these things, we start prevention earlier, because at the end of the day, primary prevention, meaning before the event happens, always does wonders before we get into secondary prevention. Yeah. Actually, I'm available on the socials. I'm found as Yubrine Mora across most of all the platforms, Instagram, Facebook, more serious LinkedIn. I am at Yubrine Moraga Shemba. I think actually even on X, Yubrine Moraga Shemba is what you will search and you'll find across the board. But I'm also available at Prime Care Heart Clinic in Nairobi Hospital. That is on 4th floor of Anderson Building, room 4.2. Thank you.
Today we've listened, we have learned, and we have shared a story that reminds us that behind every diagnosis is a human life. Whether it's a rare condition, an autoimmune disease, or a life-changing medical moment, the journey does not end with a name. It continues with resilience, support, and hope. At Behind the Diagnosis, we go beyond the diagnosis to the people, the impact, and the journey that follows. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and thank you for being part of this community. Because every story matters and every voice deserves to be heard. Please subscribe to our channel and follow us on all our social media platforms. Until next time.